We have some really big updates on AEW going forward. If you guys want more videos like this, go ahead and click that subscribe button. 43,000 subscribers. Can we do it? Can we hit it? Let me know in the comment section down below. Timestamps in the description. Guys, AEW has been rumored to go to Mall of America since literally the beginning of the company's existence. Obviously, with AEW doing things comparatively to WCW, a lot of people believe that this rumor will probably never go away. And then what was really interesting is this past weekend, an independent wrestling company called First Wrestling made its way down to Mall of America with a really sweet turnout. Guys, tons of talent from AEW were there. Dante Martin, Colt Cabana, Ethan Page, the Trustbusters, Dante Martin. I probably said Dante Martin at this point too many times. Rob Van Dam was also there. Orange Cassidy was also there. It was a really successful independent wrestling show at Mall of America. And of course, with AEW doing things kind of like WCW or kind of doing things outside the box in general, a lot of people always believed that AEW would find its way to Mall of America. And then I started looking into this, and a lot of people were kind of wondering why AEW hasn't made the decision to do this. And it actually comes down to AEW and the amount of market research that is done before going into an event. So, for example, AEW is having the MVP Arena reserved for Dynamite this week in Albany, New York. Now, this is an event that AEW is kind of challenged by because of the fact that we know that the Elite, the Young Bucks, CM Punk are not going to be at the show because they are suspended. Now, people always talk about poor ticket sales for WWE and AEW, and they try to make a big deal out of it. And I really believe that poor ticket sales isn't always a bad thing because sometimes it doesn't have to do with the product itself. Sometimes it could just purely be the market and whatever it may be. Now, WrestleTix basically came out and said that AEW had less than 600 tickets remaining. It's a relatively smaller arena. It's not going to look that good on camera in certain aspects. It won't look bad on camera either, but you know, as a whole, it's not doing that good. And essentially for AEW, it's not really worth the price it costs to book the arena. So maybe going forward, AEW has learned from this and realized, hey, we probably won't come back here, right? Now, anytime AEW is going to step into the realm of booking an arena, one, there's a lot of costs associated with it, but there's market research that comes along with it. So the ratings, what they project to be a sellout and whatever it may be. Also, you got to keep in mind the demographics, the costs of living there. AEW tickets are relatively inexpensive. As you guys know, AEW tickets start from $29 plus fees, but of course the scalpers get you. So for those who are wondering about AEW going into Mall of America, it's always been said that Mall of America is not a cheap buy. Now this is very interesting because if you're Tony Khan, I feel like he could sell at Mall of America. Truth be told, I feel like NXT TakeOver could sell at Mall of America. At this point, just give us wrestling inside Mall of America and let's put it on pay-per-view or Peacock. All right, so we got to talk a little bit more about this AEW drama. Obviously, Kenny Omega has been a big conversation, big part of the conversation, because there's so many different sides of the stories of where Kenny Omega lies in this whole situation. Now, what I find to be very interesting here is not a lot of details are coming out about Kenny Omega's actual involvement here, but we know that Kenny Omega has been suspended, and now his podcast episode with Swerve has been postponed. Due to an unfortunate circumstance, the interview with Kenny Omega has been postponed to a later date. Stay tuned for a rescheduled appearance in the future, and the new guest will be revealed on Monday, 12 p.m. This came out from a statement from Swerve. And obviously, with Kenny Omega supposed to be on this episode of the podcast, it's a highly anticipated episode for Swerve's podcast. You might be wondering why. Now, this is the ripple effects of suspensions in AEW as it stands at this moment. And it's actually somewhat of an issue for AEW here because you can't really tell how all of this drama is going to negatively impact AEW as they move forward as a company. You don't know the effects of this until maybe 5 to 10 years from now, and truth be told, that's even if they get to that point. If it doesn't get to that point, then you know the effects were dramatically quick and drastically changed AEW from the minute it happened. Now, obviously, there is a lot of talk here about the drama in AEW and what is the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's really hard to predict what that actually may be. But the reason for that is because there still seems to be some negativity here. Now, let's take a look at this tweet. So Colt Cabana's first comments since the drama unfolded, he says he'd like an AEW figure, but then interestingly enough, Brian Pillman Jr. dropped a quote retweet, "We stand Colt Cabana in this house." Now, there is a lot of people who have publicly or even privately showed some love for Colt Cabana throughout all of this drama. And interestingly enough, this has become a thing where people are saying that the backstage morale in AEW has improved a lot thanks to Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, and Chris Jericho. However, there is this belief that potentially AEW could be in a situation where people are just going to want CM Punk out of the company for all of this drama. And some people will make it very clear that's the case. Some people will be private. I think it's really important that whatever unfolds here, AEW walks out of this without any scratches, without any bruises, because that is what is important here for AEW to succeed. I think it is incredibly important that AEW figures this out, gets everybody banded together, and moves forward. And that's why I believe it's really hard taking sides in this argument between the CM Punk and the Elite drama, because there's so many different stories, you don't really know what's accurate. I've always believed there's three sides to the story. There's one side, this side, and something in the middle. And I've said that throughout my other videos. I believe AEW is very well tested here, because if AEW moves forward with all of them back on the roster, it could be a negative look for AEW. However, if AEW gets rid of any of these people, it could also hurt AEW from a financial or business perspective. Now, obviously with AEW, last week Dynamite was a really good episode, and I believe that is to be the case because AEW is pressing the reset button. They're not going to let this drama drag them down, which I think is a great thing. And it appears to me that AEW has some very big plans in the mix for AEW Grand Slam, because AEW is looking to crown new champions at the event. AEW is looking to kind of kickstart a new future for the company, and I really enjoy that. Now, there has been talks about AEW doing a couple different things storyline-wise to bring in people. Maybe it's some signings, maybe it's some returns, but they want to bring in some people to make Grand Slam feel like a yearly event that is absolutely major. Now, this year for Grand Slam, we know that there's going to be a World Championship match, which I think is absolutely incredible, and I think Bryan Danielson being there and walking out as champion could be a very big deal. However, one thing that's also been rumored, and I find this to be interesting because multiple people have been talking about this in Discord and the comment section. People have asked me about my thoughts on Slice Wrestling's report about Jamie Hayter joining Blackpool Combat Club. Now, obviously, with AEW trying to tell good stories and get people interested in the product, I think AEW's focus should be the Blackpool Combat Club. However, I've seen a lot of people actually disagree with me and say that Blackpool Combat Club is not a great faction. I find that to be incredibly strange, incredibly weird, but again, everybody has their own opinions, to each their own. Now, with that being said, if Slice Wrestling's report is true about Jamie Hayter joining Blackpool Combat Club, I personally would like to see it at Grand Slam. I would like to see Jamie Hayter get a massive push going to close out 2022. But the idea that AEW has some really big plans for Grand Slam to make this feel like a yearly special event is really important to me as a wrestling fan, because I think Grand Slam so far has been a home run. It's been knocked out of the park. And obviously this will be the second one, so that is a very big deal for AEW. So nonetheless, even with the drama, let's hopefully leave that in the past. Let's keep moving forward, building good television. I think AEW will be really good. I think you got to clean out the drama. You got to fix it, because you don't want to ruin these good moments. Bryan winning the championship. If Jamie Hayter were to join Blackpool Combat Club, you don't want any of these great storylines to be overshadowed by some stupid drama, and I just think that's all a problem for AEW. Let me know what you guys think down below.